here is part one of what's probably going to be a multi-part series on disassembling and refurbishing this custom loop liquid-cooled video card system build that I don't really have a name for. Basically, it's the mean green purple machine that is not green nor mean. A very quick backstory on this is that somebody built this with a GTX, or a 9800 GTX in it when the 9800 GTX came out, which I'm sure somebody will correct me, but I believe it was around 2007 or 2008. It was used for 2 years up until 2010, and it leaked, as you might be able to tell from right here, and the fact that the loop is a little bit empty over here and the reservoir is empty. Yeah, it leaked everywhere. So it's been, as I've said, a couple of years since this thing has been working, and I'm, of course, very optimistic that it's going to work, but really somewhat unsure if it will or not, because it's been sitting for so long, and I don't know what the liquid is made out of. Hopefully it's nothing that has anything corrosive in it or what have you. But anyway, this will hopefully be a good enough camera angle for taking out the video card in the reservoir. And that's really the best I can do with the lighting there, so we'll see how that goes. I do have my desk lined with a garbage bag topped with some paper towels, so the paper towels will hopefully soak everything up, and the garbage bag will stop it from staining my desk. So let's get started here. And I can see where it became loose right here. There's a lot of play in that. So that's probably what caused the leakage. Okay, so you can see that. I think I might just be able to unscrew this ring down here, if that is an unscrewable ring. Yes, it is, but it's very difficult because it is completely soaked right now. I might have to find a better way to do this. So I think what I'm going to start with here is taking off the cooler, or the block that goes on the video card. So it goes, well, it's pretty much takes up the entire video card, so I have to take off every single one of these screws. I'm doing it inside the bucket because I don't know at this point what is going to happen when this thing finally comes off. I'm hoping the video card will just come off and that'll be it, but I've worked on computers before, so I know never to expect anything, especially in this kind of situation. So I'm going to fast forward the next part of the video and we'll get started right now. Alright, that looks like all the screws. So, oh, that came off a little bit easier than I thought it would. So there it is. A very nice and shiny underneath, at least. 9800 GTX. Unfortunately, I think some of that shininess, especially around this area over here, is from liquid, because both, or all three of these are not supposed to be pink. There's a lot of pink underneath here. Oh geez, it's everywhere. That's no good. Well, I can't say I did not expect that. So here's the block, which is surprisingly heavy to me, having never done this before. There's a lot of leakage over here. Lots and lots of leakage. And judging from this stain right here, which I am trying to see in the camera, if you'll be able to see that, it looks like a majority of it came down and then got into this little crack, went down, and then spread throughout the rest of the card. I didn't see a way without flipping the case over, and I don't want to do that right now because there's liquid in here, to take the reservoir out. And after looking up here at the radiator, it seems as though the only places to disconnect it are, well, it's up here and at the other end. And unfortunately both of those are on with a pipe clamp of sorts. So I don't want to undo that, but what I can do, and this may end up being a very terrible decision, but you know what? That's just what I do, is to take off this little screw connection right here. I don't know what it's called, but it's this thing. So I'm going to focus on this right here because it seems to have, well, actually I don't know now. You know, let's focus on this other one because it seems to have less liquid in it now that I look at it. Okay, it feels like it reached the end. There it goes. And okay, so that's not a screw-on connection. That screw is just to hold down the hose, which makes sense, and that's a good idea. But now we have to figure out how to take that apart. Do I even want to take it apart? I mean, if I take it apart, then I'll probably have to put new hoses on it in order for it not to leak. Decisions. I found out how to remove this reservoir, and that is with 4 screws that secure it to the bottom of the case. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so there is everything unscrewed. It was only in there with 3 screws, unlike 4 that I thought it was in there with. So that means that finally, after a lot of dicking around, I'll be able to remove the reservoir. Here's a broken rivet. And it looks like this will just come right out. Alright, there we go. So it is now free. And I don't know what the hell I'm going to do now. Okay, so now moving the reservoir into here. Very nice. Alright, that's cool. That's very cool. Now to get this thing open. So I finally loosened this thing on the bottom, and now it's unscrewable with my thumb. So that's cool. And there it is out, right there. I'm gonna go ahead and try to very quickly and gracefully pour this into the bucket. Like so. Hooray! It's finally coming out. Awesome. Cool. So that's part of it out, which is nice. Now, gotta figure out a way. You know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna set that right in the bucket. I've gotta pick up everything here and try to get it to drain back down the tube. Which may not work, because it's taking an awfully long time to get through the card. But it is going through, I guess, so maybe we'll just wait and see. Alright, there's the hose off, and I can see a lot of liquid sitting right there, so let's try to dump it. Wow, that was anticlimactic. Do I have to perhaps let it fill up again? Nope. I just had to not be an idiot and let the law of gravity take hold there. So I filled this with a little bit of distilled water just to make sure everything's holding, and it seems to be holding quite nicely so far in the GPU block as well as the CPU block. Nothing seems to be leaking. Excuse my arm there. And I did go ahead and tighten up this other connection which was loose, and this one which was very loose. Even, you know, before I took it off it was loose. And everything else seems to be okay for right now. So I'm going to do a very quick test. I plugged in a power supply and I'm going to jump it with a paper clip here. We're going to see what it does. You know, if this thing ends up dead because of something that I did, it's not really that big of a deal, because first of all, the computer is going to be junked anyways, and wow, this is crap. Because usually I look for, you know, the green or the gray and a black to jump it, but I don't know what those are. So through a very complicated series of events, I've scrounged up this, which is a little bit of an extension from a regular ATX power supply to a mini, I guess it's called a mini ATX power supply connector. And because this is just black and green, I then had to readapt it to a mini to a regular. So I've got this going on. And I know that I could just go online and look this up, but this is much more entertaining. And then I'll connect these two, which apparently is only a 20 pin. So just disconnect that one, connect the 20 pin, and then, the moment of truth, we will see what the hell this does. I'll get a better angle at everything in the tub, because I'm sure that something's going to leak. And here we go. Okay, so that did not go as badly as I expected. Looks like we had some, I don't know what it was, some kind of, maybe a spray going on. You know, it might have just been dust from inside there. Let's give it one more quick try, quick burst. Don't want the pump to run dry for very long. Okay, that's enough of that for now. And surprisingly, we don't have any leaks of any kind. Now granted, the water hasn't gone through everything yet, and it is pink water because it's both the whatever was in there before and distilled water. But I think we are on a good track to keep putting water in this thing and see what it does. I bought 2 gallons of distilled water. There's one of them right here, so I'm not concerned about wasting it. It's pretty cheap, and well, this video is going to be fun anyway, so let's pour some more water in here and see what happens. Now unfortunately I don't have a funnel, so I can't do this the right way, so I'm just doing it over the bucket. Okie dokie, that is everything that I can fit in there, which would technically be overfilled, but because this line is still empty up here, I feel pretty confident in overfilling it for now. Make sure that's nice and tight, and we'll give it one more shot after I dry my hands off. This is looking good. I'm actually really excited about this now. I was not expecting it to work as well as it has. So 1, 2, 3, go. Okay. So it's going up to the radiator, but it's not quite making it around yet. Okay, we had progress there, that's good. There was liquid pumping through the entire system, and it eventually pumped enough that it caused the reservoir to fall off of where it was, so I guess it's time for a little more liquid. Then after this run, I will empty it once more and get rid of the pink if we can do that, and then fill it up again and do another run. Cool. One, two, three. So we got quite a bit of bubblage in there, which I'm thinking it's going to work itself out, maybe. Holy crap, it's actually working. Oh, maybe it would be helpful if you could see all this. Yeah, it's going very nicely. Nothing is leaked yet. We do still have some bubbles, but it seems like the pump is doing well. It hasn't, well, nothing's happened that shouldn't have happened. Okay, I've got everything set up in pretty much the way it would be if it were actually installed in the system and working. So this is just don't think about what is holding this up. It is definitely not a twist tie. About where the CPU would be, and this is about where the GPU would be. Just you know, so everything's in the right orientation and whatnot. So let's see how it does in this position. I'm thinking it's going to do exactly the same as it did before. So we got a couple bubbles to work out. But overall, looks like everything's going just as I thought it would. So as it stands, this is working, but before I put it in sort of any kind of system I care about, I'm going to do a lot of testing. I'm going to set this thing out on the desk just like it is for maybe an hour, maybe more, and just see how it copes with being on and being running. So far it's doing very well. In fact, it's doing incredibly well. It's a bit surprising. And also what I'm going to do is take the whole system as far apart as I can get it without, you know, worrying about breaking anything, and clean it, because there's a lot of pink residue all over here. I'm pretty sure a lot of this is stained pink, but I'd still like to get as much pink out of it as I can. And the water is getting clear, but you know what? I've still got that much of my first gallon of distilled water left, so I'm gonna flush it as many times as I want to, try to get it as clean as possible. So here it is, about an hour later. I've cleaned everything up to the best of my ability. The only thing I really couldn't get was underneath this cap right here, because it doesn't come off. But that's not a big problem, it's just a little bit of pink right there. Everything else, the lines are clear. This one has a little bit of, I don't know what it is, probably just degraded from sitting so long. It's not as transparent as it used to be, but it's still pretty good. I ended up cleaning this, cleaned it very well. So much nicer than it was before. I'm still working out some air bubbles in the system, just every once in a while going by and like tapping this, making sure that's out of there. I'm pretty sure this is a bleed valve of sorts. But I'm not really sure. But it seems to, you know, release air bubbles when it's open, and it keeps circulating the air bubbles when it's closed. So, not really sure, but that's probably what it is. And there's the block up there. And this does work pretty well on all three settings. There's a 1, 2, and 3 speed setting, and all of them, you know, they work all the same. So that's good. This is going to run for a little while. Longer, probably a couple hours, while I just mess around with other stuff just to make sure it doesn't leak. And after that I'm going to get the video card cleaned up and we'll see how that goes. As always, I thank you very much for watching, and there will be another part of this video, both cleaning the video card and reassembling the system itself. Yeah, hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.